Good morning. I am so glad that we are talking about motivation this week. And yesterday, I'm glad that yesterday our topic was getting out of bed because I gotta be honest, today was one of those days. Um I had this idea last night that I was going to go to bed at 7:30 because that's when my body said, "You know what? Time to go to bed." And so I crawled in bed at 7:30 last night and guess what? I fell asleep. I'm like, "This is great. I'm going to sleep all through the night. I'm going to get this incredible night's sleep and then I'm going to wake up and I'm going to hit the day." Well, guess what? I woke up at 8:30. 8:30 p.m. Like it was still kind of light outside. I woke up still light outside. You know, where you're like, I don't know, is it light out? Like, was that my night's sleep? Do I get more? Was that it? Like, and I laid there. I'm like, that's okay. Just use the restroom, go back to bed. And I laid there till like 1 a.m, like zero productivity. All I did was like Facebook for a few hours. So literally, I accomplished nothing last night. Needless to say, I got like 4 hours of sleep after that point, a little less than 4 hours of sleep. So for me to get out of bed this morning, I had to tap into the things we talked about yesterday. And sometimes you just got to do it. You got to get that blood circulating through your body for you to really to feel it, to get it moving. I mean, I've been feeling that way. I have, and I'll just say this one little piece and then we'll get rolling. But I haven't done as much exercise over this last week because I've been inside and I've been writing and I don't know. I don't know why. I just, there are some times where I'm out doing a lot of activity and for whatever reason last week I just wasn't. And I could feel it. I could feel it all throughout me. My motivation was like, foo, foo, foo. And not to write, like I can get in the zone of writing, but I don't know. It's like my mental headspace, my physical body. Like they say when you don't use it, you lose it. And when I wasn't using my motivation to get out and do stuff with my body, it was just like, wah, 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 wah. And I just wasn't. And so that's a little tip for you as well. That use it, you lose it. And so just keep up with yourself, stay active. And sometimes you just got to jump out of that bed, shake yourself off. And honestly, that's what did it for me this morning. And so today we're going to talk about staying motivated when you're just not motivated. And let's not kid ourselves. For us high achievers, we want to have those wins. We want to get out there and just do the thing. We want to have these accomplishments and say, hey, look what I did today. Look what I did today. Look what I did today. And honestly, that was one of the hardest things as I became an entrepreneur was realizing that my wins looked a lot different than they did before. And so I had to meet myself differently. And we'll kind of talk through some of what that looks like. So first tip, connect to your why. Like, why are you doing this in the first place? And you might be saying, yeah, Jen, but this isn't like building my business. I mean, some of us can pretty easily pinpoint, like, why are we doing this business that we're growing or whatever it is. But let's say you're writing a process document at work. And I say that because my boss one time tasked me with doing this process document. And I had to implement and write a mobile policy. Like, what is the company's use of mobile phones? Like, how are we going to use them? Is there going to be a technology that goes on top? How do people get them and give them back and the whole night? And this was a global company. So I had to do this in every single country because it was going to vary from country to country. And the more I peeled this back, it was like HR and legal and all the countries and all of the teams and operations and how do you use your phone and how much, whatever. And so it was massive. And I think I just went blurry. How do you do this? I don't know. But it was just massive. And there were days I wanted to just stop doing it because quite honestly, I didn't care. I don't care that much about mobile phones. And so to be tasked with this huge, big thing, I was like, Like my why is just to get this thing done. Like I don't care. So maybe for you, you have something that you're tasked with that you're like, it's not life changing for me. It's not, I'm going to change the world with this mobile policy. Maybe it's just off your plate and that's enough motivation for you. But maybe you can connect it to something a little more personal, like, well, this pays my bills. And if those aren't paid, then guess what? You got the roof, you got the food, you got whatever else it is. And so when we connect it to something a little more personal, then it hits home a little more. If you're just like, oh, I want this off my plate, then yeah, you just want it off your plate. And maybe that's motivation enough. But I think for a lot of us, we want it to be a little closer to home. So I don't know what it might be for you. Maybe it is paying the bills, or maybe it's, I don't know, but think about like take it a few steps further. Why is it that you might want to complete this? And, why is it going to benefit you? How is it going to benefit you for it to be done? And maybe it's just for your mental health. Maybe you're like, because I'm going to feel a lot better up here because this thing is making me crazy when it's done. So let me just get it done so that I never have to think about it again. That mobile project took me like a year, maybe a year and a half, because it was so big. And there were times, and here's number two, sometimes you just need to take a little break. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to walk away. It's like me with IKEA furniture. I'm not like a big fan of putting together 10 million pieces and using instructions that looked like they were done with crayons. Like, oh yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. 5-year-old wrote these instructions. Let me follow this for 1 million pieces. Okay. Like that's not my zone of genius to be putting little nuts and bolts and screwing things and whatever. Like I don't like to, my issue is that I don't like to read instructions. I just don't. I don't like to read recipes when I cook. I don't like to read instructions. And there are some times in my life that, I'm like, I'm going to read instructions, and I do, and I feel really good about it. But there's a lot of times I just want to do it. I just want things to be intuitive. That's why iPhones are really good for me, because they don't even come with instructions. They're just intuitive, although arguably they're not overly intuitive, but whatever. I don't have to use manual. So sometimes when I am in one of those projects, I just have to literally walk away. I have to walk away because I'm so like what is the next piece that goes here, and I just can't figure it out. And so stepping away helps to clear the air. You ever walk away and then you come back and you go, oh, that's how, oh, I didn't even see that. I didn't even know. Yeah, it's like that. When you are so caught up into whatever you are doing, it can be like that where you're like, I don't see the answer, because you're just frustrated. And all your mind is doing is spinning round and round, thinking how much you hate this thing, going, why the heck am I doing this thing in the first place? I just want it to be over. It's frustrating. You're not in a good, we're in our most powerful state of mind when we're at peace. And when you're frustrated, you're not at peace. So you're not in your most powerful state of mind. You don't have clarity. You're not in flow. You're just like, get it done. So step away. And that might just be for an hour. It might be for the weekend. It might be for a week, but give yourself time, because here's the tricky thing about stepping away. Sometimes you might not go back. So if it's truly something that you need to finish, tell yourself, I'm going to step away for whatever amount of time, like not to exceed, like not to exceed, 4 days, 5 days, because if you do, you might lose your traction, you might lose your interest. And I don't know what it is. It could just be a personal project for you, or it could be something at work. I don't know what your deadlines are. I don't know the importance of getting this thing done. You may say, Jen, I just simply do not have time to walk away because I've got to get this thing done for my boss and this, that, and the other. Well, ask yourself, if you're saying truly, I do not have time, think through that. Do you? I mean, if I went and told my boss, hey, look, I'm going to need a few extra days. And I know we need to get this thing done, but I want this thing to be done right. And there are a lot more steps involved in this than I realized, or there are so many steps involved in this, and I want to make sure that I'm doing it right. Or I just need a break because this thing's making me crazy. I can't believe I'm tasked with this. No, don't tell him that. Don't, or her, or whatever. Don't say that. Don't say it in so many words. But my point is there truly time or not? And you may find that actually there is, and that's just a pressure that you're putting on yourself to get it done. And if so, and then you're putting yourself into the state of suffering and you don't have clarity, then is that really the right motivation? Well, I just have to get it done because I said it was supposed to be done on Friday. But you're pissed off and you can't think through things and you can't find the solutions and you're just making yourself nuts and you're not sleeping and all the things. Like, I don't know. Only you can assess these things for yourself. I'm just simply making suggestions. Take a break, take a pause. And if you say, yeah, but I can't, really question yourself. Yeah, but can you? And there might be legit times where, nope, this company's going public in 2 days. I got 2 days to finish this. Okay, legit. That might be it. I remember when I stepped out and I changed careers, and I'm really still in the process of figuring a lot of things out. I think the entrepreneurial journey, you are figuring things out all the time. Like that's part of it. There's always new things that are coming and new things that are going. And it's just you bob and weave and you learn as you go. And there were days that I really didn't think I did a whole lot to my standards of what I was used to. I was used to, accomplishing a lot of things. I mean, I had teams that were going out and executing on whatever, the decisions were that were being made behind closed doors that I was having with my boss or with my peers or whatever. We're like, hey, this needs to happen. Okay, go tell your staff this, that, the other. Like, here's the game plan. This is what everybody needs to do. Everybody gets in their marching actions and you go. And when you're a solopreneur and you're doing everything yourself, then you're the one that's doing everything. So you may have been accustomed to, this is the task that needs to happen and it looks like this. And then you just start chipping away. And now you have a task that looks like this and you just inch along. And you aren't finishing things at the velocity or speed that you once did because you don't have the same level of manpower or bandwidth that's behind it. And you're just figuring things out. And then maybe you do something and you figure it out. And then you're like, that wasn't right. Let me do it again. Or I didn't quite like how that turned out. And so you're changing and you're modifying and you're adjusting and you're bobbing and you're weaving. And so, oh my goodness. So I had to learn to celebrate those small wins. Don't wait for that big thing. Like at the end, all right, team, we're all going to go out for lunch. We're going to take a half day. We're going to do whatever. So you can clearly, I've been in corporate for a long time. And maybe that's what you do in your business too. Maybe you have a staff and that's how you celebrate. But my team and I at the last company, I would take them volunteering because they didn't have a budget. So I'm like, when we're done with this, we get to go volunteer. And they all loved it. And it was wonderful. It was beautiful. So whatever it is, whatever you're working on, celebrate the smaller wins. And whether you're still in corporate or you're doing things yourself, doesn't matter. But if we're waiting for these big things, if I had waited until I finished that mobile policy, which I think I did, but anyway, let's just use that as an example because it took me a year and a half. Then I'd have to wait a year and a half. And that during that year and a half, I'd be going crazy. Like, I hate this stupid thing. I just want to throw it away. Why am I doing this thing? And so that pause that we take, those celebrations, they help give us renewed rejuvenation through all of this because It can just be a lot. It can. And so celebrate yourself along the way. It doesn't mean every day go have happy hour and I don't need to work out today. I'm celebrating. I'm not talking about giving yourself life excuses where you're, just substituting one thing for another. Like you don't actually want to work out and you're like, yeah, that's my celebration. And you do it every day. And then that's just your excuse not to work out. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about giving yourself a little bit of grace. It doesn't have to be something grandiose. It doesn't even have to cost you anything. You might just say, you know what? I'm going to go take a walk at lunch today, or I'm going to read my book for an hour, or I'm just going to sit in the hammock and chill for whatever. And that can be your celebration. Or maybe at some of the bigger milestones, you go, okay, well, tonight I'm going to buy scallops and I'm going to soak those suckers in butter and I'm going to crisp them up and they're going to be so good. And that's what I'm going to do. That's my celebration. And literally, that sounds like a Jen Sugarmeyer celebration right there. That to me, yes, yes. So I don't know. I don't know what it is for you, but make sure you do the small wins. And then also, lastly, make sure you do big wins. Yeah, take a vacation. If you have paid time off, I want to know that you are maxing that out, especially if you have a use it or lose it policy. Why would you not? Why would you lose vacation that the company is paying for you to take? You don't have to go anywhere. You heard of something called a staycation? That means you can stay home and vacation. That means you can lay in your hammock. That means you can be by your pool. That means you can read that book. That means you can do whatever the heck you want in the courtesy of your own home. You don't have to go anywhere. It doesn't have to cost you a penny. So just because you have paid time off doesn't mean, well, I don't have money for a vacation. Just stay home. Just make sure you use that time. And if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have paid time off, factor that in. Maybe you still need to do a little bit of work while you're away. Maybe try to stay away from it, but take time. You got to make the time. Is it ever the right time to do something, take something, whatever? I mean, there's a million excuses why now's not the right time. So we have to make it. So when you're coming up, that's a beautiful time as you are coming up towards the end of whatever you're working on. If you literally just plan that time for yourself and say, okay, when I finish this mobile policy, I'm going to Fiji. And the reason I said Fiji is because I feel like that's a very good, not that I have money to go to Fiji. This is in my dreams. But my point is that took me a year and a half. And so I need a big celebration. So in my mind, I'm going to Fiji. I probably did nothing. I don't know, made scallops. That sounds more like me. I probably went and got those scallops and got them all buttery and crispy and ate them and probably walked the lake. That's Jen Sugarmeyer. If you want to know how she celebrates, party on. That's it. So whatever it is, but we can lose that motivation even if we are a highly motivated person, because sometimes we get bored with something or we're frustrated or we're like, why are we doing this? Like, I don't even like this thing that I'm doing. And you just get caught up in it. So take a step away, take a break, celebrate those small wins. Think about why you're doing it. And if you're like, I don't know why the heck I'm doing it, well, then maybe it's just to pay your bills. Maybe it's just as simple as that. Maybe it's not this deep analytical, I'm doing this because whatever, you're getting paid to do it. Maybe you're not getting paid to do it and you're like, yeah, why am I doing this? This actually is causing me frustration. It's not helping anybody else out. It's just me. Maybe you decide that that's not what you should be doing. And you tell them thanks, but no thanks. I have found that recently too. And there's a lot of people and they're like, hey, we want you to come talk for free. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And then I'm like, why am I doing all of this? Like, I put all this time and at some point I'm like, hey, Tap out. No more free stuff. I can't always be doing free stuff because I got to pay my bills. Like at some point you may make that assessment for yourself, like pivot, shift, but celebrate those wins, make that time for that vacation, because that vacation is not going to happen if you don't take it. So I would appreciate if you would subscribe, and if you would share this with your friends, because guess what? We are live 5 days a week. This is all about morning mindset and motivation, just getting our days started with some energy and some enthusiasm. And this is YouTube, so you could be watching this at night. I have no idea. But guess what? We are moving this into the studio at some point. That is the longer term goal, and that is in progress. So until then, we're just going to be hanging out in my apartment doing the thing, looking at this beautiful clock over here. So that's that. But please please subscribe. That is currency. This is a free show, and I just do this because I want to. There's that free thing, and I like it. I do. That's my why. So we're coming up. We want the world to know. We're gonna let it show. Come on, sing it with me, because we're coming up. We want the world to know. We're gonna let it show. I'll see you here tomorrow. Same time, same place. Like, subscribe, and share. See ya. Have a great one.